I think we can start the meeting.
Okay.
You are able to hear me, Professor Valentina?
Good evening.
Yeah. We'll start the meeting. We'll start the webinar.
Okay.
Good evening, my dear participants.
Okay.
The most respected speaker of the day, Professor Valentina Della Corte. I'm really very happy to Della Corte for this wonderful webinar on sustainable industry academia collaboration, global perspective, especially from the Italian experience. Professor Valentina Della Corte is a full professor of business management at Federico II University of Naples. She teaches tourism, business management, strategic management, and marketing policies and management of cultural heritage. Author of numerous publications in national and international academic journals, such as Tourism Management, Corporate Ownership and Control, International Journal of Business Management, International Quality and Service Sciences. She has participated and national and international conferences such as Strategic Management Society Annual Meeting, Academy of Management Annual Meeting, Italian Academy of Management Annual Meeting, International Forum of Knowledge Asset Dynamic, International Conference on Tourism, Marketing Trends and Conference. It is continuing. Strategic management and marketing, and in particularly resource-based theory, business networks, value creation and appropriation, both infra and intra-firm and inter-firm marketing in tourism heritage. Professor Valentina Della Corte is a full professor of business management from Federico University of Naples, Italy. I take this opportunity to welcome Professor Valentina Della Corte for this wonderful webinar. National Institute of Technical Teachers Training and Research is under the Ministry of Education, Government of India, and our director also will be joining maybe during the webinar. I'm very happy to introduce. I don't want to take much of the speaker time and the audience. Over to Professor Valentina Della Corte. Professor Umachandran, do you like to speak anything? Dr. Umachandran, before going to the speaker. Dr. Umachandran, your mic is muted. Umachandran, your mic is muted. Yeah.
Now, let's hear what Professor Valentina is talking, or she's going to share, and then later on we'll join and we'll have a discussion in the last.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm honored.
Over to Professor
Valentina. So thank you very much. Okay, I'm honored and really I have a pleasure to have this seminar today and on a very, very interesting and challenging topics, which is sustainable industry, academia, collaboration, global perspective. There is much to say. There is much that has taken place in the latest years. So we can, I hope that my considerations are a good hint for further research in the future. First of all, let's make me introduce globalization, because this is a word that is really interdisciplinary. And it's also seen as the integration of nation, state, and people through movements of people, of goods, of capitals, of values, of ideas across national boundaries. Today, it's very difficult to outline what are the boundaries of a country? What are the boundaries? What is domestic market, for example? Is it Italian? Is it European? Is it what? Because from a certain point of view, nowadays, the world is like a whole domestic markets. We are far but very close in all our behaviors, our ideas, and so there is a great interconnection. And in fact, if we try to conceptualize the term of globalization, it has been defined differently over the years. Gilpin in 1987 defined globalization as the increasing interdependence of national economies in trade, finance, and macroeconomic policies. In the 20th to 2005, the concept started implying that while people and societies may live together in local, provincial, and national realms, they also subsist in transborder spaces. So there is the coexistence of the local and the global aspects. That's why in this period there was a term that was widespread all over the world. That was the word glocal. And now globalization refers to worldwide social and cultural interconnectedness. Now the key word for globalization today, in my opinion, is the one of interconnectedness, both from a social and from a cultural point of view. Therefore, this is a very complex issue. It's a multidimensional construct from a cultural point of view, and it also points out the importance and the necessity for interdependence and connections between cultures, because this has implications both in economy, politics, in ideologies, in languages, in education, in consumer goods, and so on. So there are huge impacts in this approach. What are the key words for globalization? In my work, I try to focus on three main aspects. The first one is that the competitive environment today for a company is, of course, global. Apart from the sides of the firm, yesterday I was visiting an agri-food firm in our area. It's a very old firm because it dates back to 4 generations, and they still have a very craftsman process in the production of Italian pasta, which is one of the most important, with the patents on it. And they showed us all the process of the, of production. They are, of course, working in a very niche market, but the unbelievable stuff is that their niche market is all over the world. So they export these relatively small amounts of pasta to different countries, concentrating on certain targets that are, of course, high-level targets, because this is a pasta for the luxury market. And the competitive environment, however, determines some kind of higher instability, higher volatility, different, difficulties also in facing the market, because there is like a jungle from a competitive point of view. But we have to work with this. I mean, this is a fact. It is not just something that we have to think about. Then there is the issue of innovation, because businesses have to innovate at a very fast pace. Inventing continuously new products, new processes, new services, and not only capturing the new requests in demand, but also and mainly fostering the demands and the demands from this point of view, and creating opportunities for the demand. Then there is the collaboration, which is another important keyword, because today we are talking about networks, business networks, strategic networks, and these are university. Among these, there are the university and industry collaboration. I don't know if you noticed the brand of my BA course that I coordinate in hospitality management, and I can tell you that this is an example of application of this kind of collaboration with the companies, even from the phase when we had to build the strategic plan for it. Now, how is education moving in this context? there have been two major changes in education, because in the 80s and part of the 90s, there was a manufacturing-based economy. There was the idea that all the economy was mainly focused on manufacturing. Services were rather neglected. They were sometimes neglected. They were considered as a second best. But now there is then there was the approach that was based on knowledge. So the concentration was all the knowledge that products and services could create. And then we got to an education, but in the global world. So which are the main drivers that foster education today? First of all, a continuous process of innovation. And secondly, the fact that also the jobs requirements are changing, because they are essentially knowledge-based jobs that are requested in the market. So the macro-social policy responses for the higher education sector in different countries are the fact that there is a stress on competitiveness and the connected-driven reforms, the equity-driven reforms, the market forces-driven reforms, and the finance-driven reforms. These are the main pushes that influence the development, the trend, and the transformations in education today. Let's look at each of it with some further consideration. That are those made by Zaida, and I love this paper because it focuses very well on some aspects that, in my opinion, are relevant. First of all, the competitiveness-driven reforms show that these are mainly due to the shifting demand for skills, for commodities and markets. So there is a higher attention on skills and all the services that are connected with the product. Today, the product, even the manufacturing product, is not just by itself, but the value of the product is connected with all the services it can provide in terms of experience. So the product has to propose to the customer an experience. Then we also have to consider that in education there are a lot of changes nowadays. And now these changes are the reforms both in private and public sector. There have been considerable cuts in educational spending. And so this is a quite difficult period. Then the pandemic did not help the process, because the pandemic forced us to work through computers, but you can use the computers in different ways. But of course, not working in the same room and working on team building and this kind of stuff is a real great penalty for the students. Then there are the market forces driven reforms that are, some more, we have to look at the world. I mean, for example, with our BA course, we are looking at the world. Now we are launching with the University of South Florida master course of 1 year in hospitality and destination management, for example. And of course, this is conceived for students coming from all over the world. And so it will be online with the stage that will be done locally, of course, or in wherever, but in presence. Then there is also the equity-driven reforms that are the policies that try to improve the quality of education and its role as a resource of upward social mobility to increase equality of economic opportunity. And so this is like the possibility of, offering something that is more and more appropriate for the world of work, of jobs, but also in social terms. Therefore, the main challenges and the main issues in globalized education are the global presence, first of all, the fact that we have to take into account the international educational standards, and that are very dishomogeneous right now. And so it's very difficult to compare things. I can tell you that for my course, that is an international course, I receive submissions from, demands for the selections, so applications from all over the world, especially outside Europe. And it's very difficult to look at, the diploma, so the high school results. It's very difficult to compare the standards. Of course, I think it's necessary to try to have talented academics in the academics that are in the group, and there are academic development initiatives that have to be fostered and continuously proposed. So this means also being open to make massive investments, for example, in technological and digital equipment, in the international languages, and in a lot of partnerships with private public entities, which means essentially forms of collaboration in delivering even the educational activity. So in this process, we cannot but point out the essential and important interaction between the academia and the industries. And so there is a sentence I quoted here: having a healthy industry and academia ecosystem is imperative for long-term growth of both academia and to increase and deliver high quality research, and industry to provide value-added innovations. So this is a never-ending story. And once you start to cooperate, you really realize you really need each other. So what I love is the term educational ecosystem that is based essentially on industry and academic collaboration, that focuses on both research and also an innovation that has to be applied to the real world. So there is a cycle that we may find out, because research has to foster innovation, but in business. We have to also make a sort of self-analysis, and I would provoke the audience saying that as academics, we usually are concentrated on research, on our so-called top journals, because for our career, then it seems that only research is evaluated. It's very important to become famous, to publish in international journals that have a high impact. That's absolutely true. But in my opinion, we are in academia, we were born because we have to teach. So the education is the core of our activity, and research has to be functional to education. But education not only for students that decide to go to university. Then the point is that the university can interact with businesses in the first stage to learn from businesses. Because if I teach management and I've never been in a company, I remember my professor, the professor I worked with, I worked so hard with him. It was really unbelievable. 24 hours a day, I can tell you. But it was very interesting because I studied, but then he also wanted to involve me in some business consulting activities, and all the things that allowed me to see how the business really worked. And this is necessary, but this is not always true. Not always happens. While these three, assets are extremely important for the process. So I would like also to point out another thing. If the key issue is the academia industry ecosystem, so the educational industry can be based on the academic industry ecosystem, we have to consider that universities, of course, are creators of innovation, transferring their knowledge and innovation to firms. Then there are the industry agents like suppliers, consumers, like founders. There are the business managers. And through the networks and interactions, also in terms of knowledge, there is a conceptualization, envisioning capability that comes out. Also the configuration and design capability, the embodiment and integration. So there are a lot of things that can be put forward between academia and industry. Collaborative research, contract research, consultancy activities, academic spin-offs, commercial agreements. So there is a huge stuff. Because of course the training of the people, so this is another area which is very, very important. It can be also included in consulting activities, but this is the interactive process between the two. Who are the main actors of this process? There is the triple helix model that shows that the main actors in this are, of course, governments, and we have here this seminar that has been promoted by the ministry. Then we have the industry, and then we have the university. So that's why even in education we need to be also to propose also specialized courses, not just general courses, because today high specialization, specialized skills are required, and it's necessary to also to test the motivation of the students since the beginning. So if they decide to adopt a certain thing, this means that they are embracing a certain sector. This is very important in terms of motivation. But which kind of relationships can we look at in situations where there are these academic ecosystems? We can say that we have to consider two things that are very important. That are the network sides, which is the size of the network, if there is a focal actor, of if all the actors are of the same level and sides, and the frequency of contacts. And from this point of view, because by the frequency we can really realize if this is a real concrete relationships between the parties, or is just some formal relationship. And so the more they are frequent, the more it means the process has to be less flexible, but also well constructed. Then therefore, of course, the process of building this industry and academy ecosystem requires specialized skills. Specialized skills like knowledge conversion capabilities. And because once the university makes its research that shows some kind of innovation, there are then specific skills to transfer to companies this kind of results from the research. And even in the research, the interviews to entrepreneurs, to managers of the companies are necessary, because the research in all the fields has to be finalized directly to the target it refers to. And so we have, first of all, the conceptualization and visioning capability. So that's why I was citing the importance of the main contacts with industry factors. In order to acquire like a sort of complementary knowledge, but this is also important because this contamination between academia and industry is necessary. And only starting from the really beginning, we can start speaking the same language and understand each other, in order to avoid to be in the Babel Tower. Then there is a configuration and design capability. That is a large number of contacts and frequent interactions that favor, of course, for example, the academic spin-off, the translation of knowledge into prototypes, also in connection with already existing companies, because academia spin-off are not necessarily put forward by themselves and carried out by themselves. And then there is another step which is very important, that is the embodiment and integration, because we have different actors that all have to realize the importance of their of being united and to cooperate with each other. And also it's interesting to study in this case is also the knowledge overlapping process that comes out. So this is to be examined carefully. If we look at this kind of approach, how it's developed and in which countries, in this slide you can see that the number of collaborators in the different areas of the world is substantially different. The very big company, the very big area is United States. United States because in the Anglo-Saxon world as well as the United Kingdom, because in the Anglo-Saxon world they realized this much before many other areas in the world. Then there is also Europe, but you see that United Kingdom, France and Germany are essentially the tops in this process. There is a certain connection between Brazil, Chile, and Argentina with US, then China, then Japan, Australia. We cannot find here neither India nor Italy, as you can see. So maybe we are the less efficient in this kind of relationships. But why? Because it's very complex. I mean, our traditions, I think we have something in common from this point of view. I'm talking about Italy, but maybe I would like you to think over the situation, for example, in India, because we have a long tradition and we are strongly connected with our traditions. And therefore, we can see that the engagement of both the company and the university has changed over time. Therefore, the governance complexity is very, very low when, there are just some teaching sessions, company visits, case studies, and this is the traditional way of interacting. Then we start with internships, bachelor's degree, workshop on business needs, orientation workshops, and so it becomes more complex. Up to arrive to industrial doctorates, planning of degree courses and assessments. One thing, because now, for example, in our BA course, we have a very complex internship process that involves the companies a lot, because 50 credits out of 180 are delivered by the company. And so we ask the company to have a very detailed report on the stage experience of the students and on the student himself. At the same time, we had a very, very analytic report for our students that some way they have to give some important hints on how the stage was working. So now we also have a lot of industrial doctoral programs. Now, for example, there is a new doctoral student in our university that is starting with me, process that involves also staying in a company for 6 months. And this is very important because they have to look at the company very closely. They have to understand the ways company work and so on. So you see that by this very simple scheme, but we can see that the process is becoming more and more complex over time, but it's also more challenging, more interesting, because the engagement becomes much higher in these cases. So we may talk about a sort of action plan to successful academia and industry collaboration. First of all, we need to create collaborative platforms. I remember in the past, the companies that we were working with in our management courses used to say, okay, but the students are very, very prepared, but they don't know anything about, the practical world. They have a lot of difficulties in applying the notions they learned at university. And so this is a problem. We have to start from nothing and so on. Then they realized they were very prepared. And so they saw that they immediately started developing the skills they were missing. But with a collaborative platform, you can even facilitate this process. And this is what we're trying to do. Imagine that my BA course nowadays is also certified with the ICO certification, apart from the quality system that the university ministry requires. Then there is the collaborative platforms are platforms where you can interact a lot with companies and continuously. Adopting policies and shared values to foster collaboration. So we also have to make a sort of training for this, investing in graduate and postdoctoral students as they possess the expertise that is required by the companies, improving the effectiveness of university and industry, focusing on social capital resources. Because the point is this, we need to train people that have to go out of the university that are already a little bit skilled. So we cannot but do this work together. And then also increasing the participation of females in the ICT sector, and also, let me say, in the upper levels of the top management. Upgrading academic industry and staff to engage university industry linkages for software innovation. So these are just some of the very important things that we can, put in action together with our main people that are interested in this process. I would like to before concluding, I would like also to tell you a couple of things on this issue, because we in our area in southern Italy have two great experiences. One is the experience of the Apple Academy that was carried out between the Federico II University and the Apple Academy in a very in a suburb that was rather abandoned area, and then it was totally recovered, and there is a wonderful campus there. There are people coming from all over the world. When you go into that campus, it seems to be United States, I mean. And then after the Apple Academy, and then Cisco was interested. So they entered, and then there was Deloitte that also entered. And then also in other important sectors like the healthcare, Medtronic decided to enter. And they are also studying and asked us to make together with them some educational programs for their employees that at the beginning were carried out by Bocconi University. Now they are moving the hub to Naples and to our academies. And also, I am in a very important committee because I've been appointed by the Minister of University here in Italy in a very important committee that refers to the first setup of agri-tech hub in Italy that is going to become one of the most important all over the world. So competing with the main ones in France rather than in Israel and so on. And in that concept, there is a very strong idea of the collaboration between university and companies, and of the application of research results and methods to the implementation of important programs in the agri-food industry. But so, as you see, also these great challenges that seem to answer positively to the action plan I am suggesting here show that you have to make this interaction work since the very early beginning. So before you get to the project has to be shared. If you develop a project and then you submit it to the industry, you're not going to get the same result, because the industry has to think that that project is part of the collaboration. And so is a co-actor. So this is a co-producing logic that I am suggesting today. Now, what are the main conclusions, but also hints for future research? This is an issue that is not just, like scientific. I mean, I love, of course, to make research in every of my speeches, because I think the literature gives you a very important basis of in discovering also in a certain field what has been already done, what are the main needs, what are the main criticalities when managing. but there is much to do in this work. And also the interactions at an international level are very important. I had some requests from China for double degrees, etc. So after this meeting, I have a meeting with a delegate for the teaching activity in our university, because we will study together if there is a possible path for double degree with China. Why not with India? So let's think about something that can be good. If you have specialized universities, important universities in certain fields, we usually select the excellence in every field and in every area. And I'm sure that in India you come from very important and prestigious universities. Now, globalization, therefore, in education cannot simply be described as harmful or beneficial. It depends on the position in power, relations, and the values and priorities, both for local and global well-being. One thing I can tell you on this is that, for example, in the hospitality management course I manage, the point is that we want to help the territory a lot. So therefore, we pay great attention to our local students, but we keep an eye open to the external world. And so there are also some foreign students coming. Now I'm just working on the numbers because it's a close number BA course with 50 people every year. I'm trying to see if, considering maybe 60 people, I can add 10 foreign people inside. Then university plays a key role, training future entrepreneurs, developing models of innovation, generating new knowledge to be exploited by commercial and social entrepreneurs. Managers coming from previous entrepreneurship experiences in academic spin-offs provide managerial and commercial knowledges that academic entrepreneur doesn't hold. So this is very, very important. And we usually use this process. Entrepreneurs coming from academic spin-off that have already been successful that teach to the others. Academic spin-offs are the main driver for creating radical and disruptive innovation, of course. And network is essential to create new technology. But of course, this requires also relational skills and knowledge. So the impact of globalization on education, as well as on academia-industry relationships, remains an important area of research. We still have a lot to do. We still have to experiment things. We still have to try to find out new innovations. We are doing a very hard job. I mean, it's very, very hard, but it gives nice results. So my really wish is that when we have these interesting seminars, when we meet to have exchange of ideas and knowledge in a certain field, apart from the, of course, the our research interests, our options of publications that we can share, I think we can go even further. This is an exercise I'm actually doing with the US, with the University of South Florida, because with our visiting professor, we are really building a very, very important process. And so therefore, I think this is what we really need. In terms of book chapters, we proposed some topics. So with my staff, my group, my research group, that I really thank also for the great attention efficaciously and efficiently of this situation. We discussed the topics we would like to propose that are, in fact, academia-industry partnerships, the role of entrepreneurial ecosystem in academia-industry collaboration, and the contribution of academia-industry network in innovation management. These are rather challenging topics. These are not easy, but I think and I guess that we can have a good idea from the collaboration. And of course, if we can also interchange our authorships together, it could be a great results. Thank you very much for the attention.
Oh, thank you, Professor Valentina. ESM, I'll just take a lead and I'll
Yeah, no problem.
give my feedbacks. Professor, it was really nice. You gave a model called GFME, globalization, financial, finally leading to a kind of a equity model, one that really was capturing. Another one was your work. You showed how university and industry can collaborate with spin-off, innovations and many things, which it's a big apple cart we had. Then you also shared with us your university experience of creating hubs where Apple has done, Cisco has done, and you are also going to get a medical tech to be created in the university, and that comes to Naples. Okay, these are really fine. And in addition, you also gave us 3 chapters which you would take up in the book, right? Now, Professor, the thing is, we want to have your speech as to be an introduction to all the potential authors, because you have been in this field for more than, I've been in touch with you, and I know you are more than for a decade working on the spin-off and industry connections. And you have been connected with the real industry, bringing up hotels, a lot of things, pre-COVID and post-COVID, how you had gone through the, trauma. I've really, seen it, and that's why, we wanted to have your inputs into it. Thank you very much for sharing. One. Number two, this is a start, and many of these topics, the slides which you showed, is a research by itself. If we take every slide of yours, it's not a academic interest. We are thinking of putting our experience, making it into a reality. That's where we wanted to have, and Professor ESM said we'll bring all the brains together. Because of this digital transformation happening across the world has shrunk. And more after COVID, what happened is everybody is connected more through the technology. So now getting onto industries or getting onto universities is not a difficult part. But what we want, how much we can, and what we should do is where the real thing comes. Because everybody does not have enough time to play in this part. So we are going to do what, how, where, all these kind. The 5W1H we want to do in this. So here, this is the part on which we are starting this program, Professor. And we would request you to join us in some more sessions. There are about some 20 potential authors who have already given their consent to Professor ESM that they are willing to join us and write chapters. In addition to that 20, another 3 of yours has also come. So we have now 23 in our cart. So 23 chapters are available. But all these 23 chapters have to be connected by a string. And that oving part, should lead to a fabric. This is where ESM says we do not want to have a book done. We want to have a book that will be really useful. It's not because writing a chapter, writing in journals, we have been doing. That's part of our work. We are doing it. But this should be a kind of a lexicon for being referred by anybody in this world who wants to try something on industry, academia, on a sustainable connection. This is where we are trying. So we want to do a lot of things after your talk now. We request you all to also share your presentation, because at least to ESM, if you can share, we'll pick up some slides, and we'll also work on what can be picked up, because what you have given is very big. If we have to do everything, I don't think we'll have enough time also.
It's possible. But my objective was really this, to give as much hints as I could, because since this was a seminar like on the overall topic, so I'm very glad about the things that you said.
Yeah, thank you. So I now leave it to ESM. ESM, please give your feedback, and we'll go for conclusion.
Okay. I think that is there a
question?
Would you like me?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Sure. I leave the floor open. Please.
Yeah, the floor is open for the discussions. Let us hear from the participants. The participants, you can go your questions to Professor Valentina. Participants? would like to ask the questions to Professor Valentina, you can ask the questions to Professor Valentina.
Even if you have to
Okay.
make
Yeah,
comments,
yeah.
not just.
I think I will
mean,
utilize the
because
time so
here
that
the
we will give
is
some time to ask the questions. I
Okay.
think Jayanti, there is a participant Jayanti. You are yeah. Please.
Yeah, ma'am, you in one of the slides you
Kindly
were just
switch on your
telling we
camera.
have to.
You
One,
open your camera, Jayanti, please.
Yeah, please switch on the camera, Jayanti.
yes, sir. I switched on, sir.
Switch on the camera.
I'm switched on, sir.
Yeah. But we are not able
One
to see.
No, we are not able to see your face. Let the professor see your face.
Oh, now, so now it's
No.
switched on.
No.
Maybe.
Maybe I have to relog in, sir. Sometime it happens in Google. Meet.
Yeah.
So, ma'am was telling about that we have to involve, like one of the slides, we have to involve people, like in increasing the female participants in ICT sector. So, what way it will
Correct.
help
Yeah.
successful academic industry collaboration?
In different studies, there have been some interesting analysis also of the performance at the management level of the management staff according to the presence or absence of women. And what came out was that the interaction between men and women is extremely important in this field because we are very different. I mean, our nature is totally different. And the approach to work is different. So, but it's also complementary for this reason. And so the women are still not enough in the organizations, even in the academia and also in the industry. These are areas that are traditionally, covered mostly by men. And from this point of view, since things are changing, of course, it's harder for us as women, but this is a big challenge. I mean, I think it's there are also social implications, and it's a big issue. Not all the women are open to work as they should, because as a woman, I want to be also very objective in the evaluations. But for those that are really willing to, I think they can add great value. There are some psychologists that even studied the capability of women that are top managers to understand and also interact with the employee that has problems, and they called it love marks. Which means a kind of sensitive approach to the critical things and aspects of. But this is, I think, natural, because the woman, for nature, has this kind of approach, no? And so this is an issue that we should consider. Why there are so few women, and we still have to show that we are good. I mean, we have in Italy as well. I noticed that, I mean, compared with my colleagues, I have to show that I'm not stupid. Why?
Prof, I'll add one more point, since I'm from industry. See, why Professor Valentina is saying about women is, see, industry is per se thought like the breadwinner is always a man. But today, men is part with women. Women have taken up a lot of leaps, and industries are willing to employ more women rather than men. There are many things which automation has taken care, and the machine is doing the part of the macho part of a manufacturing part, or whatever a service part is required. But the delivery and the sustainability is a kind of a feministic requirement. Okay, leave out the gender balancing part. Now, if you have more of men and less of women in an environment, what happens is the decision is always taken by men, and women are subdued, and they are not in a position to come up to your innovation. They are not going to be part of any of your kind of a development in your organization. They are only a baggy pullers, or they go on with being pulled. To avoid all these stuff, there are people like Indra Nooyi still available, who's the head of Pepsi, who has turned around. There are a lot of Biocon. If you take Mazumdar, there's a lot of thinking which is still untapped in the human, the female gender, which is still to be linked with the industry. Education is a one which is for not only employability, but for also creating innovation. If you treat people together, then innovation will be better. At home, our mother and wife and all take care of us. So don't they do it? The similar thing, we are bringing it analogous to our industry. This might look a very light part, but this has a very valuable sentimental value and a lot of proliferation of benefit to the organization. That's where she is thinking about bringing women into place. You will get a lot of harmony in the workplace. You will get a lot of development in the workplace. There's not a kind of you have a up and down in people. You will have everyone together. It'll bring a lot of binding. So there's a lot of things which goes with psychology, sociology, and the real industrialization. So this is where industries want more women to be employed. You see, in India, we have a lot of women going for night shifts, which was unheard in the 70s and 80s. How now industries are taking more women in the nights? You see all the fabrication industry, your clothing industries, your semiconductor industries, all have women. So you need to have certain skill sets that are blessed with women should also be captured. So that is the reason we want to have. As an industry guy, I wish to share this point to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course, I would like just to add something. I agree totally with Uma. One thing I would like to underline that, of course, we are talking about talents. I mean, provided that there are the skills, okay? Because here the issue is skillful people with a different sentimental approach that can foster innovation if well managed.
Yes. Yeah. Any more questions? Please feel free to ask, because we have a from Italy.
The participants, the questions from the participants, you can utilize the opportunity. You can
please don't feel shy or thinking that it is of not any value, because anything will really create a kind of a stimuli in us. We want you to talk. If you talk, we will be benefited.
Okay. Let me ask my
Good evening,
question.
sir.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody.
Yeah, somebody is
Good evening.
Yeah. Sai.
Good evening, everybody.
Yeah.
I'm Mahalakshmi.
Yeah, Mahalakshmi.
Nice to meet you all, and feel very much motivated, madam. And thank you very much. And really inspired by what we have shared, and really feel happy to be, especially the inputs for the women, what you have given. And thank you, Chandran sir, also. And this contribution, the women power, that also you have touched. Thank you very much. And in education, definitely we will be utilizing what you said. Thank you very much. Just want to share my appreciation for organizing this and valuable sharing. Thank you very much.
There was somebody called Said. Said was raising his hand.
Thanks a lot. I appreciated your comments. Thank you. I really can tell you that I'm in touch with a lot of people from all over the world. So I can choose the groups I'm, interacting more with, and you are in these groups. So really,
okay.
Yes,
Mr. Valentina. Yeah, thank you very much for spending your valuable time with us. Such a wonderful topic. It's a good beginning for our work. So I have a couple of questions actually. So the industry institute interaction, it's a very powerful word. You have industries located in certain areas of any city or any place. If you take any country, I have traveled in Europe. So in India, if you see, the developments or the locations of the industries are not uniform. Tier 1 cities, Tier 2 cities, urban area, rural area, especially the academic institutions located in rural area, how they are connected with the industry in European situation. I would like to hear from you. That's the first question. How the geographical location matters on the industry-academia collaboration. Okay.
That's a big issue.
That's the first.
Thank you for your first answering this. Okay.
Yeah.
The geographical location means a lot. The geographic location means a lot. The geographic location has a big meaning because, first of all, it defines some way the ecosystem where the firm is operating or the university is operating. So that is the ecosystem where they work. But one thing I can tell you, I make our example just to show you that, first of all, for example, we are in southern Italy, and it's traditionally conceived as the less industrial area of the country compared with the north. We are showing that we have excellence in the south, and we are working on those excellence to make the hubs I was talking about. So the geographical area can give hints also for the vocation of the territory, for the characteristics. If there aren't, we can also put their research and development activities, okay? So like the Las Vegas in the academy or Las Vegas in, okay, from this point of view. All man-made facts to build the so-called business districts that are our ecosystems. But this is just the starting point, because we can create situations and ecosystems that, of course, valorize the territory, but with a global perspective, because the point is the perspective. So the geographical area has to be considered as a resource to valorize, but the perspective, in my opinion, has to overcome the boundaries today, which doesn't mean that we are losing the identity or that, but of course, if we have some vocational resources, it's better to valorize those companies in those sectors that are key sectors for the place.
Correct.
Then my next question is on the
You also
technology
have a
enabled
question.
Yeah, you are able to. Thank you very much for your wonderful answer for this question. Then my next question is, the pandemic situation has forced us to use the technology. Okay, so we are moving towards technology-enabled learning. All the universities have become virtual universities. So in the context of virtual learning and virtual are getting connected with the universities, especially in Europe, I would like to hear from you in Italy.
Yes, I have a clear idea from this, and also I share these ideas with a lot of colleagues in Europe, because the pandemic gave a great push towards the digitalization, also in education. And this is a big stuff, and this is also a very good thing. For example, all these kind of webinars that we are having, so the connections and the interactions have improved a lot in general. But as for the education in the place, it's a unique value that you create for the students. So we try to go back to classes as soon as possible. We are managing classes even if the pandemic in Europe is starting again. And of course, with all safety measures. But the technology is a great support. We are also working on some, new situations and experiments in immersive reality, in artificial intelligence, and this kind of stuff. Wonderful, but it cannot be substitute. That's my opinion. because it's not the same. Because the students after 2 years of pandemic are like lazy. I mean, they have a different, way of approaching learning. I don't know. I noticed it. I noticed this also in my children at school. I mean, I think it was a problem for all of them because the online learning can work, but has to be organized totally differently.
Correct. No, the whole world was not really prepared.
Yeah.
So this is the learning we had during the corona.
Yes.
Now, for example, for the
Thank you.
master course that we are proposing that is starting to in our master courses, we are organizing the lessons that are online in such a way that the student has to work a lot and interact. It's not just, participating to the lesson, saying something.
No.
That is like trying to duplicate the lesson in class virtually. And I think it has to be different. And we were not prepared because it was, sudden.
Good evening. This is Dr.
Thank you, Professor Valentina. We have got a from our institute. Dr. Janardhan is the head for the Center for International Affairs from our institute. Dr. Janardhan is with us. Dr. Janardhan, over to Dr. Janardhan, please.
Good evening, Professor Valentina and Professor Suresh and Professor Krishna. And it's my pleasure to ask. It was good the webinar, and thanks for Professor Suresh for organizing such a wonderful program. My question is, in the case of sustainable industry academic collaboration, now what we are observing, certain industry itself is converting into academic universities. When they started becoming universities, then how it's not an encroachment, but how the system will transform. What is your perspective? In India, I have seen certain industries now, for example, a very famous build construction-based industry, some IT-based companies, they themselves transformed into an university. What is your perspective because when the collaboration is important, so how it is going to change the ecosystem of education? That is one question. And second is, with respect to now the government of India makes it mandatory for the faculty members to undergo 3 weeks compulsory industrial training program. And they launched the TULIP scheme. TULIP is one of the laudable initiative by the government with 3 different ministries, where the urban problems, especially the urban problems, will be taken up by the student with some government organizations. It's not only the industry where we have to work. There are various government organizations like PWD, the roadways, highways, pollution control board. The students have to work in tandem with them so that they have to solve some problem. What is your perspective? Because industry is whether these serving departments can be taken into the industry, how it transforms the ecosystem. These are the 2 questions, Valentina.
Okay, I hope I caught all the things that you said because I couldn't hear very well. Anyway, so if there is something I'm missing, please tell me.
Yeah, I'll add value. No issues.
Okay, because what I can tell is that we need to innovate.
Yes.
We do need to innovate in our universities because we have to be closer to the industries. So why do the industries create their own academies? Because we are not able to give the right support.
Yes.
I mean, we have to be very critical with ourselves in universities because when you decide to work differently, to be close to them and also work with them, they really appreciate you. I can tell you that the same people in industries that were very skeptical regarding our university, when we started interacting with them and building specific projects with them, it was great because now we have a real network that is working. So from this point of view, this is it. The second regarding the students, right? What did they lose? I mean, it was an urban problem for the stay of the students. Did they catch the right
Yeah, you're right. You
Okay.
go ahead.
So we need campuses. We need campuses. We need facilities. We need facilities. Why did the US started the campuses? Because they already knew it, because their system is very connected with companies and is financed by the companies. Then we can decide if it's right or wrong. But this is another issue, private or public universities. So this is another topic of research. But what I can tell is that they had, the campuses that were really close to the very important companies in their economy. And they started like this, that great business schools in US were, promoted by the companies.
Yes.
So I think this is the path. This is the path. And of course, for example, I make you the example of my university. We are also working hard on dormitories and areas that have to be good for students. Now I have a student from Nigeria that was selected in my course, and this guy is having a house that is not close to the university because there is not yet a functional situation. So in the urban process, we need to consider this. But what about the suburbs where you can, recover areas and create ecosystems also in infrastructures?
Now, adding on to you, Professor. In Tamil Nadu, we have Shakti groups owned by Mahalingam. He has a lot of engineering colleges and universities. A construction group called Krishna, they have their Krishna Engineering College University is coming up. There is Banariamman Institute. They have their own industry. They have their university. You take Ramco. Ramco has cement, software and everything together as industry. They also have. So like this, we have, what Janardhan sir says is, there's a kind of an encroachment that goes on. But is it going to affect the ecosystem? Of course, everyone has an ulterior interest. They want to have educated people, pipelined into their system. So this is an extended industrial training, part that happens. This is what is my view. And this is how we have been handling as an industry, guy. From there, from that point of view, I wish to share this.
At the same time, now the government is promoting more on entrepreneurships and startups.
Correct.
So if everyone is going to be on entrepreneurship and startups, then we have to think where the labor force, because upskilling also becomes a part. So how to identify the skill set and how to make it, because of the pressure, everyone need to undergo entrepreneurship course, everyone need to have a startup and startup promotion. It's good academic leadership, everything is good, I'm not denying it. But where we get from the workforce, where we are going to get the workforce.
This is where, this is slightly misunderstood in Indian context. They are thinking entrepreneurship is an alternative to employment.
Yes.
That is not possible. Employment is different, entrepreneurship is different. The people who want to have a normal living can go on for employment, but who can take risk requires to go on stretching their entrepreneurship skills. So we are on a kind of a muddy water in this forum. So we don't know really how this is going to go. But as industry academia link this relationship, like what Professor said on that GFME model, her spin-offs, innovations, open innovations. If we try adding all these things, then sure, somewhere the dots will get connected. We are fishing out in a dark night. We don't know whether the real fish will be caught in the swamp.
I would like to tell you two things. The first one refers to the entrepreneurial skills that are different from the managerial ones. And we need to prepare students to both, because among students all over the world, there is an increase of future entrepreneurs. And this is a good stuff. Okay? But they need some specific skills. What I can tell is that in Italy, when I proposed the course to the ministry, they made an objection because they said we could not prepare entrepreneurs also because entrepreneurs do not need the degree. So they are still thinking that being an entrepreneur means being ignorant, or at least not so cultured, you know? And that's unbelievable. So in the project, I had to take it off, and then I put it again once it had been approved. Okay, just to give you an idea. And in our process, there are some courses that are focused on entrepreneurship, which is very important. Secondly, you, Uma, were mentioning the open innovation.
Yes.
Let's remember what happened with the vaccines.
Vaccines, correct.
You know, the interaction in research all over the world saved the world.
Yes.
In 1 year, we had the vaccines
Yes.
for the pandemic. 1 year.
Without any previous experience.
1 year applying them. So they had already been done. So this means that the network power is unbelievable, because the situation forced the research centers to cooperate between countries. But that's what we need. What we have to do if we want to keep up with the industries and give hints to the industries. Because also when we study, we don't have to say, okay, this happened. No, I think our duty is to tell the companies what they can do to get better. But to do this, the open innovation approach, even between universities, is necessary.
Correct.
And cross countries, better, even better, because I think it opens the mind of everyone.
Yes.
Yes.
Any other?
Any other question from the participants? Over to other participants. Yeah. Any other question from the participants?
Very good evening, sir, and to Professor Valentina.
Yeah. This is Arul.
Madam,
Yes.
I am from the fashion and apparel industry. Actually, like there will be like lot of issues related to the pollution control. Actually, many issues are going on. My question is, how we can implement the sustainability in the curriculum designing? How much extent it can be supported by the industry?
Could you repeat your question? Because
Implementation of sustainability concept in curriculum designing, and how much it will be like flexibly adapted in the industry.
Okay. This is another big challenge. I mean, the big challenges that we are facing today in innovation education are digitalization on one side and sustainability on the other. But one thing that was fostered by the pandemic was the sustainable approach, not just to discuss it, but to apply it. Okay, so there is I think in industries, there is a higher awareness of the importance of sustainable measures to adopt. So what we have to do then as universities is also to give them tools and methods to implement sustainability, and also to have a sort of interactive control at different levels to see what if we are really improving the well-being of the customer. Because today the issue is the well-being of the customer, because the well-being of the customer is also the well-being of the people working in an area, staying in an area, the residents, the tourists, everybody. So that's why we need the tools to do this. We need to monitor this, and we also have to be very critical about the probability that we are maybe failing in some things. But I think a great step was taken forward after the pandemic for the sustainable issue, because companies are more open, and also they believe that it can be something worthy, investments that can be worthy. So this is the time.
No, in addition to the the academic design which Arul wanted, academic design is good. Only the practice is in a problem. Our sustainability is good. See what happens to the water resources that are polluted. Whatever Kaveri water comes with froth. The textile industry pushes its pollutant into the water. See, it is in academic, we don't teach them, you wash it into the river. It is only the people. See, that's the difference between the industrial thinking and the academic thinking. Academic thinking is pure. Industrial thinking is biased because it is having an inclination for economy and economical impact, make more money at a quick time. This phobia is not present in the academy.
Yeah.
So academy is good. So it's only our application which is being deterred, and we cannot blame. Everyone should change by themselves. That's
Yes.
where academy is for a good thinking and good beginning.
But if in the academy we work on sustainable projects, okay, projects and sustainability with the economic and financial part that shows the impacts of this, it is much easier to transfer this to the industry because they can see also the savings they can have from sustainability.
Yes. Maybe if Arul needs more clarification, you can still ask. No issues.
Yeah. During my research, I found like a few institutions asking for a minimum like 30 to 40% of sustainable product development and designing in their curriculum. So how much extent it will be like implemented in the global perspective?
See, product development is required because whatever you learn, if you can make it into a reality, that's more required. But all students, when they are studying, they are not capable enough to develop a product. Even if you take a project in our what engineering curriculum or whatever we do, they all join together and there'll be one guy or two who will really put their effort and all others will be just pampering around and playing. And here we don't really monitor and pull them back because we don't have time, or we are set back because we don't want to take the brash hit of it. See, that is where we want to make them understand and empathize themselves that they are the ones who are going to change the world. So product development is a kind of innovative, creative thinking that needs to come in the person who's studying a curriculum. So you just can't push it. It takes time. And those are the people, either they get employed or they can become an entrepreneur. If they can really develop a product, they can become an entrepreneur because they have a chance of getting more towards making their own thinking come into a reality. Whereas if they are going to be part of what is happening, then they are getting onto an employment aspect. So this is where it goes on. So it's like which comes first, and which to which you are really pushing yourself into it. Academic design is good. 30% is good. Why 30%? Even 100% is good, but 100% cannot come. So we have gone less than and a half. That's 30%, and even 30% we cannot justify it as really truthful. This happens everywhere.
We try to have a structure for our
It's a great
PhDs.
your wife. Yes, that much.
They also have to spend their money, their time
Yeah.
in companies. So part of their research activity is inside the company. As a bridge between the university where they are having their PhD and the company needs. So the project is conceived together with the company, and then the person that is selected is working on a project that is shared with the company and has to spend a period in the company.
Good. So the student goes to the company itself and lives in.
Yeah, to work on
Works
product process and this kind of stuff.
Right. Good.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any other question from the participant? From the participants? I think we had a lot of questions, interesting questions from the participants. Professor Valentina answered all the questions raised by the participants, supported by Dr. Umachandran. I take this opportunity to thank Professor Valentina for spending her valuable time with us on behalf of our director, National Institute of Technical Teachers Training and Research, Professor Dr. Usha Nadesan, she is not able to join because she is in the other meeting. So the other official commitment. So I take this opportunity to thank Professor Valentina on behalf of the director for spending her valuable time with us. I also thank Dr. Uma Chandran for making this wonderful connectivity with Professor Valentina. I also thank all the participants, including my own colleagues, our research scholars, and the other, faculty members from other institutions. To all. Thank you very much, Professor Valentina. We'll meet again. We'll meet again in the next occasion. Thank you.
Yeah. Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
No, if Arul can stay, we can have him. And Jayanti, Mahalakshmi, and even if you can keep Janardhan and others. We are not asking you people to go. If you are wishing, we can have a concluding remark or way of getting it close to an end. ESM, can you please call Janardhan also to get back? Is it possible?
Yeah. I will call.
Yeah. Others can also open up your cameras so we can see each of you. Good. Thank you. Thank you. Mohammad Mishal, Soundarajan, Professor Varalakshmi, Sri Krishna. Or you have kept your camera on and you have gone. we really don't. Yeah, very nice, Sri Krishna. How about Vinod? Yeah, Mohammed. Yeah. Keep it on, Sri Krishna. We may talk, and you can see our faces also as we talk, and we'll make a kind of a value addition before we close. Vinod, natural hazard. Who's it? Sweta. Soundarajan, Divya. Yeah, please.
Yeah, he's coming. He's just joining.
Yeah.
Dr. Uma is joining. They're not going to join.
Yeah.
We have Michelle is very active PG student. Michelle, yes, Dr.
Janardhan sir, we need you also, right? Okay, welcome. The need for getting Dr. Valentina for today evening was, I know Dr. Valentina for the last 10 years because, we have been doing research together and we have been working on Industry 4.0. So that is where we are into, and we have been doing a lot of artificial intelligence creations, getting onto deep learning, machine learning, and getting onto use of big data and all those stuff, the technological support. Luckily, the pandemic helped us in moving further, and we used a lot of opportunity during when we came in touch with ESM and Mahalakshmi and all. They all wrote a paper during COVID how to get on with education using technology. So a lot of things was happening. So recently, very recently, it's about 1.5 months ago, Professor ESM said, we'll go on creating a kind of a book. We want to write a book, and that book should be on to a topic which is sustainable industry and academia interactions or relationships.
You can continue.
Yeah. So as we are going for this, we wanted to have a kind of ice breaking, like, we want to get in. If you want to get in, it's not that we all have our ideas, brains. Google is enough to search through. We have, but there are people who have been working on it. Like Professor Valentina, she has been working on industry academic spin-offs for last more than 7 years, I believe. And I've been writing with her. Whenever she writes any paper on the spin-off, she used to call me, and I've been working along with this Italy team, West Indies team. We have South African team. Everyone, many of our researchers are into place. See, this is an opportunity for us to get with a global network. Network is more important for us. Every one of us is individually, intelligent, but when we join with everyone, our work sums up in a better way. This is where we are wanting to have a synergetic kind of an approach to this process of writing a book. Already, Valentina has given us, a commitment of writing 3 chapters. She'll do it. She'll make her people, go through it and research it, and she'll come out with a paper. It's now we want to do it in a nice way. So next time, the next meeting will be like, we'll have Dr. ESM, Professor ESM convene a meeting where we want you all come, share your experience. Share your experience, because you are in an academic area. You have some kind of an experience with industry. We want to know how about making it green, making it beautiful, getting it connected in a right way. So we want your experience to come in so that we can, brush out a big collage. We'll make a big picture, and then from there we will go on disintegrating it into a reality. We'll give it to each authors, like you pick this topic, you pick this topic. If you want to have some support, we'll get another people, or we'll join in your team. Like that, we can have a lot of teams that can synergize and then keep on giving out an output. That is how a paper can be evolved. It's not one person sitting and browsing or doing some kind of a research, and you cannot do it. And it will be tedious for you to write a paper or a journal, or publishing a journal, or write a chapter in a book. So this is the point. We want you all to join us. Like, how we have Arul from fashion industry and textiles, and other people like Janardhan was there giving out his international experiences. Like that, we want all of you people to join. So, prepare yourself for a next week meeting, or, I leave it to ESM to, when he is in a position to convene a meeting. But when we have a next meeting, we should be in a position to go further. We already had 3 meetings. This is the 3rd meeting. The first meeting was with Dr. Kalirajan. Dr. Kalirajan is a nuclear specialist. He was the head of Kudangulam. Dr. Kalirajan, Professor ESM, and me, we had a kind of a interaction that day. And then we had some more people join the mass, like we had Shivakumar and Professor, principal joined. So then this is the 3rd meeting we are having, bringing in Professor Valentina and a kind of a good group we have. And the next one should be churning out, like, we really identify the potential authors to whom we can really talk, and we can brainstorm and take it further. This is where is our intent. So we may be correct, we may be wrong.